Bruno Fernandes told Al-Nassr no, and every Manchester United fan needs to understand why this is massive. Welcome to Carrick United Analysis, your trusted home for everything Manchester United. If you have not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go and do that right now. We bring you honest, detailed, and passionate coverage of every Manchester United story, every transfer, and every big moment at this football club. Thousands of United fans already trust us as their daily source for everything Red Devils. And we want you in this family too. Now let us get into one of the most important and most relieving transfer stories of this entire summer. Because the news has just dropped and every United fan needs to hear it clearly. Introduction. For months, the question would not go away. Is Bruno Fernandes about to leave Manchester United for the riches of Saudi Arabia? Every few weeks, a new report would land saying Al-Nassr were ready to make their move, that Al-Hilal had made contact, that Cristiano Ronaldo himself was personally calling his Portugal teammate and asking him to come join him in Riyadh. The Saudi clubs were circling. The money on the table was enormous. And every time these stories appeared, United fans held their breath and hoped. Now, finally, the answer has arrived. According to TalkSport, one of the most reliable and well-connected sports radio stations in England, Bruno Fernandes has made his decision. He is staying at Manchester United. He has told teammates and people close to him that his future is in Manchester. And Al-Nassr, despite everything they threw at him, have been left empty-handed. So what actually happened behind the scenes? Why did Fernandes say no? And what does this mean for Manchester United going forward? Let us break every single piece of this story down together in full detail. Chapter 1. The Saudi pursuit that would not stop. To fully understand the significance of Fernandes saying no, you need to understand just how serious and how persistent this Saudi interest actually was. This was not a single inquiry that got casually knocked back. This was a determined, multi-year effort from some of the richest clubs on the planet to sign one of the best attacking midfielders in European football. The Saudi clubs have had Bruno Fernandes on their list for well over a year now. Al-Hilal, Al-Nassr, and Al-Ittihad all made approaches during last summer's transfer window. Multiple bids were discussed. Huge financial packages were put together. The Saudi Pro League has spent billions of pounds bringing world-class players to the Middle East over the last few years, signing the likes of Neymar, Karim Benzema, N'Golo Kante, Roberto Firmino, and many others. They were not about to give up on Fernandes without a serious fight. The most dangerous moment came just before the Club World Cup last summer. Al-Hilal came very close to convincing him. Reports from multiple outlets, including TalkSport and Sky Sports, confirmed that the Al-Hilal president personally called Fernandes, not just his agents or intermediaries, but the president himself, to discuss the possibility of a move. They offered him a financial package that was described as extremely ambitious, and that would have made him one of the highest-paid footballers in the world. Al-Hilal even had a personal angle working in their favor. Fernandes was told that his Portugal teammates Ruben Neves and João Cancelo were already at the club. His children were used to playing with their children. The school situation, the family setup, the social environment, all of it was already in place. On a personal level, as Fernandes himself acknowledged, it would have been an easy move. He said himself that even at a family level, it was an easy proposal to accept. And yet he still said no. Then, when Al-Hilal stepped back after being rejected, Al-Nassr stepped forward with renewed determination. And this time, they had a weapon that no other club in the world could use. Cristiano Ronaldo, the greatest Portuguese footballer of all time, the man who has captained the national team alongside Fernandes and who has a genuine friendship with him, personally reached out to try to convince him to come to Riyadh. Here is a question worth sitting with for a moment. When your international captain, one of the most persuasive and driven personalities in the history of football, personally calls you and asks you to come play alongside him, and you still say no, what does that tell you about how much this man values competing at the very highest level of the game? Chapter 2. What Fernandes actually said. One of the most powerful things about this entire story is that Fernandes did not hide from it. He did not pretend the offers did not exist or that he was never tempted. He spoke openly and honestly about exactly what happened, and his words give us a fascinating window into his thinking. Speaking at a Portugal press conference during the World Cup, Fernandes confirmed that the president of Al Hilal had called him a month earlier to discuss the possibility of a move. He said he had to wait a while to think about the future. He was not dismissive of the offer or of the people making it. He described the president as a fantastic person and called the financial proposal very ambitious. He also revealed that two conversations were absolutely central to his decision to stay. The first was with Manchester United manager Ruben Amorim. Fernandes said that Amorim really tried to talk him out of leaving. The manager made clear that he wanted Fernandes to stay, that he saw him as a vital part of the project, and that he believed the best version of their collaboration was still ahead of them. For a player who had publicly questioned whether the club actually valued him, hearing that directly from his manager clearly mattered a great deal. The second key conversation was with the club itself. Fernandes revealed something very honest and very important in his press conference comments. He said the club told him they were not willing to sell him, only if he wanted to leave. That is a very significant statement. It means Manchester United drew a clear line. They made it known that from their side, this was not a player they were looking to move on. The decision was entirely in Fernandes's hands. And faced with that choice, with the full support of his manager and his club, and with his own deep desire to continue competing in Europe's biggest competitions, Fernandes made his decision. He said simply and clearly, "I simply want to stay at the highest level playing in the big competitions because I still feel capable of that. I want to continue to be happy and do what I love most. I am still very passionate about this sport." Those are not the words of a player who is staying reluctantly or who has been forced to remain against his will. Those are the words of a man who looked at everything on the table, thought deeply about it, talked to the people who matter most to him, and decided that Manchester United and the Premier League was exactly where his heart told him to be. Chapter 3. The Ronaldo Factor and Why It Did Not Work. Let us talk about the elephant in the room, because the Ronaldo angle to this story is genuinely fascinating and deserves its own detailed discussion. Cristiano Ronaldo has been at Al-Nassr since January 2023. He is not just a player there. He has genuine influence over the club's recruitment strategy. Reports from Goal.com and TransferFeed both confirm that Ronaldo has been granted significant say in who Al-Nassr try to bring in. And for Ronaldo, signing Bruno Fernandes would have been deeply personal as well as strategically brilliant. Fernandes and Ronaldo are not just international teammates. They have a genuine relationship built over years of representing Portugal together. They understand each other's game. They know how to get the best out of each other on the pitch. Ronaldo knows better than anyone how good Fernandes is when he is given the right environment and the right teammates to work with. The vision of those two playing together in the same club side, combined with João Felix who had also joined Al-Nassr, must have seemed like an incredibly exciting proposition from Ronaldo's perspective. So when Al-Nassr made their approach this summer, Ronaldo was not sitting quietly in the background. He made direct contact with Fernandes. He pushed hard. He made his case for why coming to Saudi Arabia would be the right move. He had already convinced other players from Europe's top leagues to make the jump. He clearly believed he could convince his friend and international teammate as well. But here is where the story gets really interesting. Despite everything Ronaldo threw at this recruitment effort, despite the personal relationship, despite the enormous financial offer, despite the presence of João Felix and the promise of a genuinely exciting attacking combination, Fernandes still said no. He still chose the Premier League. He still chose the uncertainty and the challenge of trying to bring Manchester United back to the top over the comfort and the riches of the Saudi League. That tells you something very important about Fernandes as a person. He respects Ronaldo enormously. He values their friendship deeply. But he is also his own man with his own ambitions and his own vision of what his career should look like. And that vision does not include moving to Saudi Arabia while he still feels capable of competing at the very highest level of European football. Chapter 4. The contract situation and what it means. Now let us look at the practical side of this story, because the contract details are actually very significant and every United fan should understand them clearly. Bruno Fernandes currently has 1 year remaining on his existing contract at Manchester United. That takes him to the summer of 2027. On top of that, the club holds an option to extend that contract by a further year, meaning they could keep him until 2028 if they choose to exercise that option. There is also a release clause in his deal. Reports from Sky Sports and Goal.com both confirm that his contract contains a release clause of €65 million, which works out at around £56 million. Crucially, this release clause is only valid for clubs outside England. That means a Saudi club or a Spanish or Italian club could trigger it and sign him for that fixed fee. But a Premier League club wanting to sign him would have to negotiate a different and presumably much higher fee. The existence of that release clause actually adds some urgency to the situation around a new contract. If United cannot agree an extension with Fernandes before his deal runs down, they face the possibility of losing him for a fixed and relatively modest fee in a future window. For a player of his quality and impact, €65 million would represent very good value for whoever triggers that clause. However, the most important thing to take from the contract situation right now is that Manchester United are described as completely relaxed about it. Reports from multiple sources confirm that United officials are calm and unbothered by the uncertainty around his deal at this moment, because they know the player wants to stay. And when a player wants to stay, the contract conversation becomes much more straightforward, even if it has not happened yet. Chapter 5. Who is Bruno Fernandes and why United need him? Let us take a step back and properly appreciate just how important this player is to Manchester United, because sometimes when you see someone in the same shirt every week, you start to take them for granted. This would be a very dangerous mistake when it comes to Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes was born on the 8th of September, 1994 in Maia, a city in northern Portugal. He came through the youth system at Boavista before moving to Italy, where he developed further at Navarra and then Udinese. He went on to play for Sampdoria in Serie A before returning to Portugal and joining Sporting CP, where he became one of the most dominant and creative midfielders in Europe. His performances at Sporting were so outstanding that Manchester United paid around £47 million to sign him in January 2020. What followed at Old Trafford has been one of the most productive individual careers any player has had at Manchester United in the modern era. He has been consistent, creative, and match-winning in a way that very few players in United's recent history have managed. He scores goals. He creates goals. He takes penalties with composure. He leads by example. He wears the captaincy with real pride and authority. His impact since arriving at United has been remarkable in numbers. He has contributed well over 100 goals and well over 100 assists across all competitions in a United shirt. No United player since Cristiano Ronaldo's first spell at the club has been as consistently productive over multiple seasons. In the 2025-26 campaign, he continued to be United's most important creative player, driving them forward and providing the moments of quality that kept them competitive, even when the team around him was not always performing at its best. At 31 years old, Fernandes is entering the later stages of his peak years but shows absolutely no sign of slowing down. His World Cup performances for Portugal this summer have been excellent, continuing to show the kind of creativity, energy, and leadership that made him one of the most wanted midfielders in world football in the first place. For Manchester United, losing a player of this quality and this importance would have been devastating. Replacing someone who scores 15 to 20 goals and creates another 10 to 15 in any given season is extraordinarily difficult in the current transfer market. United fans should understand clearly how much worse things could have been if Fernandes had taken one of those Saudi offers. Chapter 6. What this means for Ruben Amorim and the project. The news that Fernandes is staying is not just good news for Manchester United in general. It is specifically very good news for Ruben Amorim and the project he is trying to build at Old Trafford. Amorim came to Manchester United with a clear idea of how he wants to play and what kind of players he needs to make his system work. He uses a 3-4-3 formation with intense pressing, quick transitions, and creative players who can operate in tight spaces and make things happen in the final third. Fernandes, with his ability to arrive late into attacks, his creativity in tight areas, and his goal threat from midfield, fits that system beautifully. More than just tactically, Fernandes is the kind of senior leader that a new manager building a project needs around him. He knows how to win. He knows what standards are required. He knows how to carry a dressing room on difficult days. And he has shown many times that he can be the difference between a win and a draw or a draw and a loss with a single moment of quality. Amorim reportedly fought hard to keep Fernandes when Al-Hilal came calling. He made personal calls and personal appeals. He made clear that, from his perspective, Fernandes was not just a useful player but a genuinely vital one for what he is trying to build. The fact that Fernandes listened to him and valued those conversations says a lot about the relationship between manager and player, and about the trust that has developed between them despite Amorim being relatively new to the role. For Michael Carrick, who is working closely with the technical and analytical side of things at United, having Fernandes committed for at least another year also gives the club a platform to build around. When you know your captain is staying and when you know your most creative midfielder is not going anywhere, the planning for the rest of the transfer window becomes much clearer and much more targeted. Chapter 7. The honest picture of United and the road ahead. Let us be real with each other here, because that is what Carrick United analysis is always about. We give you the honest picture, not just the good news version of events. The fact that Bruno Fernandes even had to think seriously about leaving, the fact that he acknowledged the club had been ready to sell him at one point, and the fact that he has had to publicly defend his commitment to the United project over multiple windows, tells a story about a club that has not always made its best players feel valued and secure. Fernandes said something very revealing in an interview earlier this year. He told a reporter that the club wanted him to leave at one point, and that the only reason it did not happen was because the manager wanted him to stay. He said that if he had told the club he wanted to go, even with the manager wanting him, the club would have let him leave. Those are painful and honest words from a man who has given everything for Manchester United since the day he arrived. For United to move forward properly, they need to make sure their best players never feel that uncertain about their standing at the club again. They need to create an environment where a player of Fernandes's quality and commitment feels valued, respected, and genuinely wanted. Not just tolerated. Not just kept because the manager insists, but truly valued from the very top of the club all the way down. The good news is that the signals coming from the new ownership structure and from Amorim's management style suggest that environment is being built. The fact that United moved quickly to make clear to Fernandes that they did not want to sell him, that the manager personally reached out and fought for him, and that the club gave him the freedom to make his own decision knowing they would support him either way shows a different and better approach than what went on before. Chapter 8. A message to the Manchester United community. To everyone here in the Carrick United analysis community, this news should make you breathe out and smile. Because when you look at the alternative, when you imagine what this summer would look like if Fernandes had taken that Al-Nassr or Al-Hilal money and flown to Saudi Arabia, it is genuinely concerning. United would have lost their captain, their most creative midfielder, their most consistent performer over the last 5 years, and their most important player in the dressing room all in one go. Replacing all of those qualities in a single transfer window is almost impossible. The fact that it did not happen is something that deserves to be celebrated and appreciated. Bruno Fernandes turned down generational money. He turned down Cristiano Ronaldo's personal request. He turned down a move that, even on a family level, would have been easy. He did all of that because he believes in Manchester United, because he believes in what Ruben Amorim is building, and because he is not ready to stop competing at the very highest level of the sport. That kind of commitment deserves our respect and our appreciation. Not just as supporters, but as people who understand what it takes to make difficult decisions when easier options are right there in front of you. Conclusion. Let us bring it all together one final time. Bruno Fernandes has rejected Al-Nassr's approach and decided to stay at Manchester United for at least another season. According to TalkSport, he has already told teammates and those close to him that he intends to remain in Manchester despite sustained Saudi interest throughout this summer and last. Al-Hilal came very close to convincing him before the Club World Cup, and Cristiano Ronaldo personally pushed for Al-Nassr to sign him. But conversations with manager Ruben Amorim and the club itself, combined with his own burning desire to keep competing at the highest level of European football, convinced Fernandes that staying was the right choice. He has 1 year remaining on his contract with the club, holding an option for a further year, and a €65 million release clause valid only for non-English clubs. Here is the question we want every member of the Carrick United analysis community to answer in the comments below. Now that Fernandes is staying, what do you think is the single most important signing Manchester United need to make this summer to give him the teammates around him that he deserves? And do you think the club should push hard for a new contract with him before this window closes? We want to hear every honest opinion. Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this blog with every United fan you know, and if you have not already done so, please subscribe to the Carrick United Analysis YouTube channel. We are your most trusted daily source for everything Manchester United, cutting through the noise and bringing you the real story on every transfer, every match, and every big moment as this club fights its way back to where it belongs. Bruno Fernandes chose Manchester United over everything else the world was offering him. Now it is time for United to make sure he never regrets that decision. Up the Red Devils, always.